I'm Priyanka Raman. Welcome to my podcast, Art Matters, where I talk to artists to understand what drives them to create. Together, we shed light on this incredible ability to create that we all share as human beings. Through these dialogues, I reflect on my 30-year-old relationship with art and how it continues to shape my life. I've always enjoyed the creative and artistic journey and the preparation that it takes to share any creative output, and this one is no different. In a rapidly changing world of AI and sentient bots, art continues to inspire and give us hope. It teaches us empathy and kindness, draw us closer as fellow humans, and make us realize how powerful this human connection is. Art cannot be separated from human existence and is so deep-rooted to who we are, what we do, and how we do what we do. Join me as we embrace this transformative power of art, because in our world, art matters.
Today I have a very, very special person with me. She's a person I first saw as a little girl who had come all the way from Dubai, landed fresh off the boat, and was eager to make her mark in the music field. Immensely talented even back then, and even more accomplished now, Dr. Brinda Manickavasakan. She's also, interestingly, we are Guru Behens. For a very brief period of time, we learned from the same Guru. Although she is much younger to me at that point of time. But yeah, I'm so happy to see you here today. I know several aspects of your life, and there are so many aspects that I don't know. And I'm here to sort of discover the artistic side of it today with you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it as well. And so nice sitting and chatting, with you after so long.
True. And we recently met at our Guru's
Correct.
the ceremony.
Yes, definitely.
And it's so nice to connect back with a person from your past who's seen a different facet of you, and I think that relationship has stayed on.
Definitely.
There's that shared love for the subject, for our guru, and so many other things, right? But of course, I do not know where your journey took you, although I know whatever is out on social media and internet. But I'm very curious to know, what does art today mean to Brinda?
Art for me is it's home. It is where I feel I'm able to express myself best. So it is that very different and very true space for me where I can just be me and express myself the way I feel at that moment. So it's truly where I feel at home.
Feel at home. And did you always feel at home with this art form, or?
Not in the beginning. When I started going to classes.
Where did you start going to classes?
I actually grew up in Dubai. Until my 10th standard, I was in Dubai.
I remember.
Yes. So that's where I started, my musical journey began there. And first it was more of an exercise. I'd go to a part class, music class every week, and 2 classes a week. And it was, I'd do my homework. And then over a period of time, over a few years, it became more of a passion. I felt some sort of a sync with what I was doing. It was no longer mechanical, and I felt connected with what I was doing. So I think around that time only, I shifted also to...
So can I ask you, your parents moved for your music, right?
Yes.
That's such a big...
That's a very, very big sacrifice. I mean, it's... I cannot understand that kind of sacrifice. So first, my mother and we shifted to Chennai first.
You were in what? Like you were 15?
Yeah.
How vulnerable that age is to make that shift. But on one hand, your parents have moved for you.
Yes.
So there's like a pressure that they don't tell you, but you have a kind of pressure, right?
For sure. Yes, definitely.
And then you're uprooted from your...
where I grew up, your
friends, your school, everything, and into a new culture.
Correct.
and a culture which is probably not something that you were very familiar with, right? Or did it feel very easy to sort of assimilate here? Dubai in many ways was like Chennai?
Actually, every year when we were in Dubai also, every year for the summer vacation, both 2 months we'd definitely be in India. 1 month we'd be in my native place, Nagarkoil, and the other month we'd be in Chennai. And so culturally, I wouldn't say in terms of, what we do every day, how we converse, all those things were not much
problem.
That was not a problem. But what was the biggest, it was a shift in environment completely. How we approached, for example, studies. School was very, very, very different an environment for me. Making new friends. I mean, I had to unlearn and relearn a whole new, ecosystem. So that was pretty challenging. And first, like I said, it was just my mother and I who moved. My father and my elder sister and younger sister were still in Dubai. And they shifted eventually later, after a few years.
Wow. So they were alone there. And
yes.
Wow. That must have been such a challenging.
Yes, it was. Well, looking back, and I'm like, wow, this happened. It feels like that. But when it was happening, I was so occupied with all these transitions that I had to make. But I'm glad it has been. I have learned a lot of things. Yeah, I'm
but
really glad.
Did you kind of know at that point that you wanted to become a singer, and that's why your parents made that move, or was it like it's okay, we'll go and you see? Appadi irundha?
Kandipa, I wanted to become a singer for sure. I wanted to learn the art more seriously, in the sense I had amazing teachers in Dubai as well. But the issue was like every 2 years or 3 years, the guru would move to another place or something like that. They'd get transferred to another place because of work or something like that. And so continuous learning did not happen like from one guru. And that became a problem over a period of time. And everyone said that, if I had to shift to India, after 12th or after college and all, it would be too late. So, this would be a good time. And even back then, it was very common for, 10th mudichu, shifting to India for education's sake was very common. For, then college mudichu, again going back to Dubai. This was a thing that used to happen very regularly. Now it's very, very different how it is in Dubai.
Yeah, correct.
So that was...
And it was because also Dubai at that point of time, higher education
was not that this thing. So it was a norm. It was a norm. So kind of a norm.
So also, even if you had to do a professional course, you would still have to have done that move.
Yeah, I probably would have.
So your parents were mentally prepared for that move in some way?
In some way,
because they were seeing everybody else doing it.
Yeah, in some way. But definitely the biggest push for this move was music, and yeah, so that's how it happened.
And how was it like when you landed here? And can you talk about your journey, the learning part, the phase of...
Music-wise, it was a whole other world out here.
Okay.
We had a lot of programs happening. I mean, it's a relative term. We had like monthly programs happening in Dubai, concerts and all. People touring constantly from Chennai overseas to perform over there in the Indian consulate or in the club, India club over there. And we would listen to concerts, and that was great. We had that kind of an exposure. But when I came to Chennai, the music scene was so much more intense than I had imagined it to be. But that was the purpose of coming here, yes, to get exposed to this, to,
But it might be like a shock at some level.
It definitely was as well. So there was like, so much work needs to be done.
Are we even prepared for this?
Yeah. So that's exactly how it's
self-doubt.
So much work. So much work had to be done. And so my first guru when I landed in Chennai was Dr. Manjula Sriram, and that's where I met you as well.
Yeah, you were this kutti girl.
Yeah. School mudsha, directly coming from school in school uniform to class, and wow, that was a lot of fun. But also through Manjula Mami, I got to know about how much more work had to be done, and Mami would tell me, so many things that I had to work on, these corrections, about voice culture, about so many things that needed to be focused on. So it was very scary. It was actually very overwhelming at that point of time. Like, oh my God, did I know about all this when I shifted over here? I didn't know
sign up for this?
Did I sign up for this? Exactly. But then it was great. It was a lot of learning, journey of.
And what about the whole sabha circuit? Was it also easy for you to navigate?
It was difficult. Well, in terms of, I just shifted over here, and I had joined around when I was in my 12th standard. Isai Malalai, I had joined that group of Ramji Uncle's Isai Malalai, and we had quite a few opportunities through Isai Malalai to sing at different temples and all that. It was really, really great exposure. Sabha-s, I sang in sabha-s as well. There was a lot of Manjula Mami would encourage me a lot. Parents, a lot of things were happening. But the sabha culture, I think it also demands a lot of following up on, an opportunity, for example. Those were kind of things that I struggled with, and sometimes I still struggle with those things. I don't know if that is it's because I grew up somewhere else or something. I think it's also a personality thing. So those are some challenges that we have to constantly.
And how have you dealt with those challenges? Because I think as a kid, it's probably a struggle for your parents as well. Like whoever is a primary promoter of the art, which is your mom in this case, right?
Right.
So she would have probably had to pick up a lot of the grunt work of contacting sabhas, and because who's going to take a 15-year-old seriously anyway?
Correct. That's true. So initially it was like that, and sending my resumes to along with the audio cassette, all that.
Did people actually listen to those cassettes? I wonder.
I highly doubt it. Yeah. And so eventually I had to do that for myself, and then education was also my my school and college, and then higher studies.
What was your graduation? Engineering
in IT, information technology, and then I did my masters in biostatistics.
You traveled to the US?
US, yeah, 1.5 years in Georgetown University.
When you moved, did you feel like was at that point, if you felt like it was serious enough for you to make a move out of this mecca of Carnatic music, were you still like, you wanted to keep both options open?
I wanted to keep both options open. And
so, everybody feels like you don't know, you're going to make it or break it kind of thing, right?
Yes.
So where did that, let's say 50-50 la point irundhathu, or 45-55 la point irundhathu?
Yeah.
Where did it actually shift gear and say, no, this is the path I'm taking?
So that was right after I came back to Chennai after finishing my masters.
So you got the clarity there.
I came back and I was working also briefly at MV Diabetes Research Center as a biostatistician. And I was also doing music. I was doing both. And then there came a point of time where I couldn't do full justice to both paths. And then that was when I absolutely had to choose. Until then, I was like, okay, let's balance it. Let's do both. And, at that point of time, I felt like it was, I had to choose.
One was coming in the way of the
Definitely.
other.
And so
then, why did you choose music and not?
Because I think the heart of my heart, that's the calling. That's where I, felt.
And did you ever, for a brief moment, like, especially when you look at your peers and how well they are doing or where they are in life, has it ever occurred to you, man, did I there are those moments.
Yes, there are those moments. But for me, actually, it didn't happen. It's mostly not happened. There were one or two instances just after I got back from the US that, I had self-doubts. A lot of these questions that were bothering me. And actually, that was not even, the source was not me. The source was a lot of people who came to my place who would advise me, saying that I should just find a way to go back to the US. And, I made a mistake.
I want to actually ask you this.
Yeah.
You went to the US, you did a master's. Why did you come back?
I came back because I wanted to work here and, continue music class here.
Was that a part of your plan that you'd go and come back?
Yes. Yeah, I did not think I'll go there and settle down there and all. That was not in...
But when you went there and you were kind of out of sight, did you feel like it was so much harder to come back to the scene? Because every person who has taken this break has told me this, that I just shifted for 6 months, but people thought I've permanently moved.
Correct.
And,
Yes, I did
written me off from the...
Yeah, I did feel that. It took a lot of hard work to, say, hey, I'm back in town. I am not in the US anymore. It took a while, yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how did you deal with that?
Well, at first it took its time, to remove that idea from, many organizers and, sabha secretaries' minds that I'm, I'm not in town anymore, kind of a thing. So that took a while. But the more I performed and the more they saw me, that changed.
Okay.
But it took a while. Okay.
And you've also learned from other gurus,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Would you like to share what was that, like probably one aspect that you picked from each of them, right from Dubai all the way to your...
So very interestingly, I've learned from many gurus. Okay,
Yeah.
so like I said, in Dubai, I had about 5 gurus before moving to Chennai, and each guru, interestingly, I've learned from very different schools or banis of music. There is the DKJ Bani that I learned from Durga Venkatesh auntie, who taught me. She's from there, Avangavadi. Then there is Shri DJ Balakrishna. He is a student of TV Shankar Narayan sir, so that Bani. And then there's Manjula Mami, who's from the MLV GN sir Bani. And then now I'm learning from Suguna Mami, who's from the Musri Bani. So I've got this well-rounded, nice exposure, I feel,
Right.
Initially, that was also a problem because that kept coming up. That kept coming up, but it took a while to figure things out.
So would you like now be able to understand which Bani has what? And the Madri edavudhu?
I would say,
Since you've kind of like trained and across...
Ama. So I have seen, like the other day, speciality alla na experience pannirken. I have experienced those very special things about those schools. Definitely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you eventually went on to become Dr. Brinda, right?
Yes.
So when did that happen and why?
So I came...
You were like, okay, masters poradu, we need some more.
Yeah, no. So research is something that I've always liked. Even my master's, the research part of it was very, very interesting. And I had done my MA music also in correspondence before. So I was looking at, so why I've decided to do music full time. So there is so much, there's practice and everything that I do at home. Apart from which, I was thinking, is there something else that I can do, academically? And PhD seemed very interesting because it's first of all very difficult for an art form la PhD pandradhu is very tricky because to write about for example a raga or a composer or something it's very tricky to put those things down to words. Words become they become resistant sometimes to explain what you really want to explain about a topic like music. So it was very interesting. I wanted to take up a PhD, and that's when I joined at Madras University. I joined PhD, and my thesis was the contribution of Tañjāvūr K Poṉṉayyā Pil to music.
Why did you pick that topic?
Well, I had a bunch of topics in mind. This one particularly had a lot of literature to back it up, and I was interested in this composer because I've learned a couple of his compositions and his role in the Tamil Isai movement and his contribution as a musicologist, as a composer. He had so many facets to him, and so it was very interesting.
Can you actually share a little bit?
Yeah, so Tañjāvūr K Poṉṇayyā Pil is from the Tañjāvūr quartet lineage. So he's their great grandson, and he's the Sangeeta Kalanidhi Tañjāvūr K Poṇṇayyā Pil, because this is a forever confusion whether it's that Poṇṇayyā, this Poṇṇayyā. There's always this confusion. So this is K Poṇṇayyā Pil, who is very recent. 1888 he was born.
Okay.
Yeah. So first thing that I had to one of the first problems was understanding which Poṇṇayyā is what composition, because it's a very, very common confusion that happens. So that was the first task at hand. And then one of my favorite parts, at least in this PhD journey, was I had to analyze his compositions. So I really liked how much time I spent thinking about how do you analyze a composition and write about it. I mean, how or kirtanamna, how do I break it down? Can I break it down? What are the different parts in a kirtanam?
And how did you actually break them down?
So for example, one was just the sahityam. Other part was the melody, then the structure, and the melodic and rhythmic components within. So this was how I split it, and therefore each composition I analyzed it according to these, categories. And so it took a while to, think about how to analyze a composition. That was a very interesting thing I found. And I documented his, all his compositions were recorded, and, the notations were, transliterated into English. And he has written a book, Isai, which I also translated into English. And I analyzed his compositions, given that he's from the Dikshita Parampara. How much of the Dikshita, how much of Dikshita do you see in his compositions? Do you see the influence of...
do you see it? And yes?
Not
Where?
so much, actually.
Okay.
Not so much. So
And
he's
factors?
adapted more of the Tyagaraja school.
Okay.
He's also learned from Tiruvotru Tyagaya, and so there is that. So
were there any wow moments during when you're doing all this kind of research work where you feel like that Albert Einstein mad scientist moment?
for me, it was when I was trying to analyze the song thing only, how to break down a
And
composition.
did you had a guide, right?
Yes, I did.
So would they
I did.
provide some inputs or?
They did as well. Yeah, we would have weekly meetings. We'll have every day. I would go to college, so suddenly we'll get into conversations about a particular thing. It'll be very, very serious and intriguing.
Parallel also your guru?
With also Suguna Mami, yes, because Suguna Mami only had taught me the other K Poṉṉayyā Pil compositions that I had learned. So
Okay.
yeah, Mami would also share some insight. Yeah.
And apart from music being that big influence, where else do you look for inspiration?
My other biggest source would be nature.
Wow.
So I'm a nature lover. I love the the wildlife. My husband and I, his name is Swaminathan. He's a wildlife photographer. So we very frequently go to Bandipur, Kabini, Wayanad for these safaris, and we just going into the forest.
He's a full-time wildlife photographer?
Not full time.
That's a passion.
That's a passion. That's a passion.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a product manager. So when you go to the forest, I mean, for me, it's like one recharge session. Something happens over there. Something fills me up, and there is and the forest is and you don't feel like talking. You just want to listen, and you just you don't want any mobile sounds or traffic sound. You're just lost in that the deceptive silence that the forest offers.
Do you actually like staying in the wild with without those comforts of?
I actually do love those
wow.
experiences. Yeah.
I find it very hard. I mean, I keep telling people I'd love to go on a trek with you, provided there is a restaurant and a restroom at the end of it.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, sleeping in a tent and all those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
And so, what happens there? Where do you draw your inspiration exactly with these experiences?
Well, I don't know if I can actually say it in words. Like I said, it's really there is some sort of a charging that happens when I go into those spaces. There is a lot of the mind immediately becomes calm. You start
Any memorable incident
during a safari, you mean? Just generally, not really with music.
Yeah.
Well, we had an elephant chase us once.
Wow.
And we had to, our driver had to, quickly drive in reverse. There are trees everywhere. There's no proper path and all. It's, we had to immediately, he had to drive very, very tactfully, and he did it beautifully. So I was admiring the driver also half the time. I'm looking at the elephant. I'm like, wow, you're so amazing.
Skill saved our lives today.
That was something I can never forget. And the very first time that
reverse to an elephant charging at him.
Yeah. But it was actually our fault. I think we went a little too close to those elephants, and there was a kutti elephant over there, and they're very protective of them, right? So, we had to back off. And that was that. And the very first time that I saw a tiger, that was a very, very special.
Really?
Yeah. First tiger that I saw was Prince of Bandipur. He was already old by then. Beautiful tiger. Yeah, that was the very first time.
But I mean, we've seen tigers in zoos. It's not the right place, and I don't agree that they should be even in enclosures.
Right.
But how is it different for you?
Because there are no, we're not constricting them in any way, and it's their proper that's their system in which they live. I think it's so much more natural, right? And well, to a certain extent, they are also now used to all these safaris coming, and you have strict rules that we shouldn't get down, and we shouldn't, there's no flash photography, there's no, you shouldn't be talking at all. So those kind of things are also maintained, and they are now very familiar with the sound of, a safari vehicle and all that. So that kind of an understanding is there. But otherwise, you're just in the wild. And I'm seeing a tiger coming out to a water hole to drink water. It's really, really beautiful. I mean,
thrilling?
It's really thrilling also, yes. Because the search for the tiger is also thrilling. Someone will look
You're looking at the paw prints.
And then we hear alarm calls. And the moment you hear alarm calls, like, oh, what's happening? Was there a kill somewhere? And someone will pass on the message, no, I think I saw a kill there. And then you'll have to go that way. So, it's, but it's not just about
like a chase.
Yeah, it is like a chase, yes. That is also there. Even without the tiger, the million safaris that have gone, they're called dry safaris. They're called dry. Oh, the safari was dry. That's what they say. That's the term. They're just, I really, really enjoy those because of, you see,
mundane.
It's just really, I don't know, it's the birds, it's the million trees the trees that have lived for hundreds of years. I mean, we're just so insignificant, right? That feeling is, it really, I don't know, it really touches very, very close to it's very close to my heart. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you do it often?
Yeah, I do it pretty often. Yeah.
Nice. That's beautiful. I had no idea, like, wild life could actually inspire.
Yeah, because we are really nothing over there. we have no skills to do whatsoever to live in that kind of a place. We are at the mercy of nature, and we are so insignificant in this. It's very humbling, and yeah.
True. I also wanted to ask you do a lot of this collaborations, right? So, and collaborating with another artist who's coming with their artistic baggage and your artistic baggage, and are you always in a place of receiving or giving or exchange? How do you approach?
Exchange is definitely.
And how do you think through this process, or do you go and then figure it out?
Actually, usually going and figuring it out only is what happens.
But how do you, if somebody were to say, hey, listen, let's collaborate, the first answer would be yes, and then say, okay, let's figure out how?
Yeah, I mean, if I know them a little bit and I know something about their art, and that's obviously there. But once I go in person, I think it's about presenting something that I know, them presenting something they know. And are you talking about collaborations like outside of Carnatic music, or?
It could be you. So I would actually like you to walk us through some of the collaborations that you've done. Memorable ones.
Very recently.
Mavin Ko.
Mavin Kona's was, that was out of the world experience because...
so Mavin Anna is like one celebrity in Malaysia, actually.
Yes, of course. Yes.
So I was so excited when I saw that.
Yeah.
Tell.
So I mean, the process, I absolutely enjoyed the process from start to finish. And I think that's the whole point of it, is what I feel. It's not just the end result where you sit on stage and the claps. I mean, that's different. That's
obviously nice.
That's there. I'm not to demean that, but the whole process where you start from zero, and that was actually that was during the peak of December season, and we didn't have many rehearsals. Actually, we had some 2 or 3 rehearsals, and most songs were new to me. So there was a lot of work that I had to relatively, quickly planned sessions. Those were. So there was so much to learn, and when Anna's dancing, there is so much to observe. It's not too.
So this is what I wanted to understand, like singing to dance versus the Brinda that I know is like close the eyes and sing to herself, right?
Yeah.
How easy, difficult?
It's actually not difficult in the sense, if you want to connect, if you and all the artists connect towards that unified, we need to perform, bring out something together, I think if we're of that mindset, I don't think it is difficult.
Okay, right.
So it's a joint, ellaru seyந்து, we're going to make something, we're going to experience something, let's see what we experience together. If that is the way we're going to go about it, I think it's a lot. There's a lot we learn, and there's a lot of connections that happen, whether without knowing. So that happened a lot with Mevinana. So it was not just me closing my eyes and singing, but I had to see him. I had to emote along with him. He would emote along with me, and there was constant communication like that, even if he's not looking at me. So that was a whole other kind of experience, and I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Okay. And any other collaborations that you'd like to share?
I worked in 2022 with Lena Bellard and a harp.
I remember
harpist
that. I remember that.
From Brittany,
You were
France.
touring with her.
Yeah. She first toured here. She came to India, and we performed in Alliance Française, four of them. She came, and that's a completely different kind of
it's
musical. It's a very different kind of music genre. I mean, very different. So we were talking about fundamental terms in the music, for example, what the term.
How do you guys actually even agree on what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. So she okay. Thankfully, language is not an issue.
But the musical language, what do you think is what, and what
Yeah. So,
unless you're trained in Western classical music.
No, I'm not. So she had to, I asked her all those things. So I was like, what are you doing when you're doing this? What is this called something? What does a usual, performance look like? What do you exactly play? So we had all these conversations together, and then we were discussing what Carnatic raga is, and if they had something like that. We had all these conversations, after which we performed together. And it was very interesting because it is not about me taking one of her songs and singing it and then her singing. It's not like that, but it's sharing the space. For example, we found, if we saw that there was something that we could work together with. For example, I sang Nanupalimpa, and she was talking about, I think it's called a particular dance that they do in Brittany, a very traditional dance called sabha-s or something. And where what she played to me was, it sounded like Mohanam. It was exactly the notes of Mohanam, and we tried to bring something together, with that. So it was very interesting to learn like that and work together and share the space like that. So it's not like I ask you to do something, you do that. It's not like that, but it was very, very nice to share. And the harp instrument and how it sounds, and therefore how I needed to sing, all that also had to be looked into. So it was a very interesting experience. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And how do you actually go into like a concert mode? Do you have like a set process to get there, or do you do A, B, C, D? Like, on a concert day, on concert week, I try to do these things. I sleep for a certain number of hours. What is your process?
I definitely will not take an afternoon nap on the day of a concert. That is one thing. And well, maybe sometimes I listen to something, like if I've decided the main piece of that day's concert, I will be listening to some yesteryear musician present, that ragam, one of the concerts online on YouTube or something. That is something that I would do sometimes. But mostly, actually, one thing that I do very often, maybe, you can call this as part of the getting into the zone, is just listening to tambura shruti. When we turn on the shruti box a little bit, tune the tambura, and just listen to the tambura. That's something just gives me a lot of peace and calm. Just sitting with the tambura and meatifying tambura. Yeah.
And when you're touring, when you're outside of your comfort zone, because a lot of these things you get to do because you're home, right?
Yeah, correct.
Like, what if you're in a hotel room or you're a house guest?
Yeah.
How do you navigate like uncertainties in a travel itinerary and still make sure that obviously the stakes are higher. You've people have flown you down to a particular location. How do you then circumvent that?
I actually try to not think too much about it, because that kind of overthinking has not done me good.
And have you learned that with time, that overthinking?
I've learned that actually with time, that
were you an overthinker?
Yeah. Still am, but with respect to certain aspects, I've figured that maybe it's just taking one moment at a time kind of a thing works out significantly better than planning so many things in the mind. So if it's whether it's on an overseas concert or over here, I think the moment you're on stage and when you're singing, and I think that's when zone poroma illaya we'll know only then. Until then, there is nothing that I can do to be sure that the panna, I'll get into the zone. There's really nothing. I can do this listening to the tambur. I can do listening to
you can do everything.
I can do everything, but still something cannot work out over there. There, it's just uncertain. Like you don't have anything given, in writing.
And
to you.
In the concert,
Yeah.
do you really know? Now we are set. Now we are in the zone. And the mari we've gotten into that.
Yeah. That is one feeling only, and that will come. Yeah, once you're in the zone, you'll feel like okay, zone ku vandro. But honestly, there's nothing that will ensure that you get into that zone.
Yeah.
So you might as well just go and just enjoy the music, and I think that's the way to go. Is what I feel.
And so your music, does that actually reflect? Do you try to project your emotions, or do you try to go to where the composer could have possibly gone, or do you let what your inner feeling is to sort of? I mean, of course, a pathos song, nobody's smiling and singing it, right? Like you're trying to emote there, but are you thinking of a parallel emotion which could have been a sad thing to reflect that your emotions, or how do you do that mentally?
Actually, I mean, it's a very complex combination of all these things. But I think when I'm singing a song, for me, I think the biggest thing that stands out is the raga in which I'm singing it. So I'm not actually aware of what I'm feeling. I'm trying to. It feels more like I'm seeking something. It feels more like that. It's a
exploratory.
Search. It's an exploration. It is.
It's like that safari, dry or it's kind of a safari.
It's a kind of a safari. Yeah. So I'm lost somewhere, and I'm just I'm singing that song. I may have sung it several times before, but that day, anniki tonde eppadi irukku? How is my voice that day? How am I feeling? Amidst the Rasikas who have come along with my co-artists. How the mic system is. So many things come into picture, right? So, like I said, so there's no one thing that I have in my mind where I'm singing a song, but definitely the raga is something that guides. I seek. Definitely. Raga is something that stands out to me. So when I'm performing, I'm thinking about the raga. Thinking na, I'm trying to experience the raga. I'm trying to emote through the raga. I'm not aiming for an emotion. I'm trying to emote through the raga. I'm trying to understand what I'm feeling. That is the kind of experience when I'm trying to sing. Yeah.
And was there any technical aspects that you had to struggle with at some point, and it took you a while, but you got there, kind of thing, and something that you're personally, it could be something to do with your voice range, it could be, I don't know, talent.
Yeah, actually, voice range, in between, there was a voice issue that I had. I had developed, it was in the starting stage, nodules. Okay, so,
wow.
Yeah, so that was because of a lot of so many ideas in the mind about how the voice should sound like, and how it can't sound a certain way. So many things were playing, and therefore practicing and pushing my voice in the wrong way. All of those things led to it.
What do you mean by practicing and pushing your voice in the wrong way?
For example, we often hear that the voice, as it goes to the upper octave, it should become more pointed, more, what do you say?
Condense.
Condense. Okay. But my voice is actually not like that. When I sing higher octaves, my volume is the same almost, when I'm singing in the middle octaves and higher octaves. And there was a period when I actually tried to change that. Oh my God, I shouldn't be so loud in the higher octaves. I should curtail, kind of thing. Those kind of things were not working for me. They they ended up adversely affecting, my voice. So so a lot of things I had to learn, unlearn, and work, because each person's voice is to find your voice.
Where did you learn to unlearn, or did you actually go to a vocal coach?
When I went to, there were a few lecture demonstrations and, workshops that I'd attended.
But any aha moment, wow.
Actually, it was very interesting that I think it was Shamla auntie only, Shamla Vinod, at one of her workshops. She said each person's voice is unique. And so our journey with our voice is also unique. And that really struck very closely to me, because that's when I realized I shouldn't be holding on to all different ideas. A voice should sound like this, a voice should sound like that, and I should actually see how I really sound, and see what naturally is happening with my voice when I'm singing Keela Mela. Is it hurting? What should I do? Am I eating something that's actually working not well for my voice?
There
are. For example, I stopped having milk products. Milk, curd and all I do have on and off. But as milk itself, after I stopped that, I felt like my voice was better. So I think it's a personal journey for each person. For some people, milk doesn't do anything. For me, milk was causing issues with my voice. So, that was a very big eye-opener for me, that, I had to find things about my own voice. And everyone's not going to tell you everything about your voice. You have to find it for your, seek and find all these things for yourself. And I ended up, I really enjoy that journey as well, to find, the voice is not okay today. How is the voice? Voice is not the same every day. How do you make the voice consistently? That's different.
And what works for you?
My food habits, I try to, for example, less spicy food is good for me, and lukewarm or room temperature water is much better for me than hot water.
Yeah, a lot of people say that it just dries you out.
It really does. For me, it does at least. There are people who I know lukewarm doesn't work, only hot works. So the voice, we need to discover that, right? So the discovery was very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So hot tea, coffee is off the cards now.
And tea, coffee also ரொம்ப rarely only I have.
Okay, and the word in the market is that you're a collector of tanpuras. Apparently you have 14 tanpuras.
Actually now 12. I have 12 tamburas. Yeah.
Now, presently, but at some point you are a mother of 14 tamburas.
Yes.
Tell us about that journey. Where did this collection of tamburas start? And I'm going to ask you a few more related questions. Like, what was the weirdest way you acquired tambura?
My first tambura was a Tañjāvūr tambura. It was a second-hand, old, used tambura.
Inherited?
Yeah. It was actually from, there's this shop, String Musicals in T Nagar. And there they had this tambura he was selling. And he said it was an old tambura. And I really liked the sound and I bought it. And for the longest time, that was my only tambura. And then eventually at a much later point in my life, I became friends with Aishwarya Vidya Raghunath. And she is the one who nicely tuned me properly to that thing. No, I see it in you, kind of a thing. And without even her knowing, without even I knowing, I was like, oh my God, I need more tamburas. Where are more tamburas? I need to buy more tamburas. So I asked her to keep me on the
Which period of life was this?
As late, just 3 years back.
3 years later? 14 tamburas, huh?
Yeah.
You went from 1 to 14 straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
So I asked her to, be on the lookout if she heard of any tambura that was coming for sale and, things like that. But the strangest, the weirdest story was when I often check if there is any tambura for sale on OLX.
You have a problem, right?
Well, it's the way you look at it, I guess. So there was one on OLX, and it seemed like a very old tambura, and it had very different kind of work.
What do you look for in tamburas? On what basis do you acquire 14 tamburas?
Actually, it's a whole world, okay? This, different types of tamburas.
Yeah, and although it's a humorous thing, but I'm really curious. Tell us more about it.
So, I have one Trivandrum tambura, and the sound of that Trivandrum tambura is, I think, my favorite. Because there are different types of wood that they use, and, of course, how old the tambura is, and all that plays a role. I have a Mysore tambura, all those different types. So that's just very interesting.
What all are the tamburas that are there?
I have
in your house.
I have Mysore, Trivandrum, and Tañjāvūr, and one Meeraj. These are the 4 types that I have. But maximum number of tamburas are Tañjāvūr tamburas only. Going back to the story, so on OLX I found this tambura, an old one. I knew it from the kind of work that was there, and it was being sold at some musical shop in Vadapalani or something. And I immediately called him and I'm like, I'm coming tomorrow to look at the tambura. And it looked like the kodam and all looked intact, and it didn't look like it needed much work also. So I was very interested. Immediately went the next day and I bought it off because very, very beautiful. And it's not a full size tambura, slightly small. So easy for travel also and all that.
Yeah, that's how we convince ourselves. I need a travel tambura. I've been looking for one.
Yeah. So on the Madri, and that's also a beautiful tambura. So, but yeah, that was from OLX. That was the very strangest.
Any Facebook Marketplace buys?
Not yet. Nobody seems to. I do check that.
Auction houses?
I've not been there yet. I've been hearing about those. I've not checked those as yet.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And how do you maintain clean?
So I try to rotate.
What is the kind of time investment that goes into maintaining so many instruments?
So, of course, cleaning the tamburas and all, but I use them kind of regularly because, I keep swapping, like for my, when I practice and all, I don't stick to only one tambura. I keep shifting, so more or less all of them are in good condition. Cleaning them, once in a while, and, if I need any string changes and all that I take help from Dakshamurthy sir, who comes and helps with the tambura. Yeah.
What kind of social impact do you think that music has? Have you ever explored that side of your musical abilities?
Yes, I have. I've sung, for example, quite a few years back, we had a concert in the Shivananda ashram. And I've had concerts in government schools to introduce or have them, familiar, they're not familiar with Carnatic music as yet, most of them. And to familiarize them with this form and, talk about what I'm singing. Not just go sing a concert there, but also talk about it. And they'll have very interesting questions to ask. And, those have been some very, I've felt like what I was doing there was,
very meaningful.
Very, very meaningful.
What kind of questions have you been asked?
Well, there's...
Actually, what kind of questions have you been asked by people from the audience?
From the audience? Nothing out of the ordinary, but usually like about, how, learning from different music, schools of music, and then, now from Suguna Mami, how that has been. Those kind of questions I hear a lot. And, how much time do I practice, or how... how many songs do I know of so-and-so composer? That kind of, or can I sing a certain raga or certain composition? Those kind of things. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are an engineer. Masters degree holder.
Yeah.
How much of technology is used in the creative process of your art? Don't tell me, apart from the Tanpura app.
Nothing actually. Honestly, no, I don't.
And why? Do you feel like you are...
You mean in the sense like recording on the Madri? You're talking about...
Any technical intervention that you use to, like, maybe experiment with sounds?
Oh, I'm still trying to... You mean like metronome, on the Madri stuff?
No, you recording yourself. On the Madri,
to a certain extent, I mean, like for example, if I've like posted videos of me singing on social media. That kind of an exposure, and not more than that. I've not gone,
What is the role of social media for you in your art?
It is something that I'm still learning, the role of social media. Because, I mean, it has changed actually. In the last 5 years, how much I see the importance of social media has actually changed drastically.
Was COVID actually a parameter?
I think COVID also definitely boosted the the importance of or the prevalence of social media. So there is a certain expectation for an online presence and all that, which is something that I would not have thought to be very important before. But now I'm also working on it, and so it is still something that I'm learning.
Work in progress.
Yeah, work in progress. Yeah.
And how was COVID period for you personally? Was it like an introspective period? Was it a period where you discovered new skills apart from making dal khichdi?
Yeah. Yeah. It was an introspective period, but it was also a period where, I mean, some very funny things happened. A lot of can you sing this for us? And you can just record it at home and send it to us. And that kind of request without any remuneration, that kind of a thing happened a lot.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
And how do you actually deal with this concept of, we don't need to pay you, your art is there for me?
Yeah.
That entitlement itself, forget the conversation, but the attitude that they don't need to pay you.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult to deal with. But you've got to figure out how to have these conversations as well, no matter how hard they may be. But during COVID, at least during the beginning, many of us were doing that because, we didn't know also how it was. It's not one person's fault. We were really not understanding.
People thought it's a 21-day lockdown.
Yeah. So we didn't know what are we expected to do now? What is a concert? What does a concert mean now during the lockdown? All those things were completely bizarre. So all of us were doing things like that. And over a period of time, I think these questions were being asked, this takes a lot of time and energy, because setting up things at home and recording it is not, if I have to sing for 1 hour, the work that goes behind it is at least 4 hours to set up the whole thing and ensure that there's proper lighting in a certain place. And if I don't have fancy, proper equipments and, for light and mic and all that, then I have to do double the work. I have to ensure that, I have a new collar mic or something. I have to invest into it. So it was not easy to figure out all that. So there was a lot of work that would go in the background. So we started slowly started talking about all those things, and I think they have changed right now. There's still more changes that we need to see, but yeah.
Is remuneration a delicate subject today, or is it a much more?
I think it's better now, the way we talk about remuneration. I think it's more upfront now than before. Before it was can we bring this up? They've not said anything about this. What does that mean? Kind of, it used to be such a
taboo topic.
And now I think it's much better. It's definitely much better.
Is it also because you've reached a certain stage in your career? Do you feel that you have the confidence?
Actually, this I was saying generally as a concept itself, I think it has gotten better. For me, that also definitely does play a role.
Being in the field
for a certain amount of time definitely helps. Yeah.
Interesting. And if I talk about people who influence your music, apart from your gurus, gurus are a given, right?
Yeah.
Are there personalities that have been like a guiding light, not just to art, but it could be just the way you lead your life? And
my first and biggest inspiration are actually my parents. Things at home have been, we've had our set of challenges at home, and amidst all that, the way they worked towards their goals and for their children, it's really something that it's something else. It's really something else. So that is definitely my first inspiration. They set very, very, very high standards for us in that sense. Sometimes it's very hard. That also, it's not always a boon. It makes very tough on you, because you're really tiring yourself to do a certain thing. That also happens. But they've been the biggest inspiration for me, for sure, easily, for sure. Apart from which, like you said, of course my gurus have been very, very big inspirations, for sure.
So, is there we briefly touched upon areas that we all struggle with, personal struggles, right? Some people, it's the pronunciation, talam, rhythm, shruti, voice. Is there some aspect that continues to be an area that you have to really work hard at?
For me, one big thing that was a huge mind block for me was Neraval singing. Neraval singing.
Okay.
So, and I landed up in, Suguna Mami's under her tutelage, and Musri school is known for the Neraval singing.
What aspect of Neraval singing is hard?
To be able to melodically explore that line while not forgetting words.
So it's the words that are the problem.
It's the words also that are words that are the problem. For example, that used to be the biggest problem for me. Vartha, I'll miss out on some word, or or I'll swap some word and then, it doesn't make sense anymore. So that used to be something that I struggled with. And in class, this used to be a joke. Like, we'll be singing many rounds, and then Mom will sing like a really big round of Nair, and it'll be my turn. And I'll just start singing Swaram, and then everyone laughs. I'm not singing after that. Everyone laughs. That's a joke. So, so much to learn about Neraval singing, especially.
Right.
Yeah.
And what does Brinda do to relax, like chill?
I watch a lot of movies. Yes, okay. I love watching movies.
Do you remember the names of the movies?
Yeah. Well, a recent movie that had an impact on me was Masan.
Okay.
And I really like that movie. And I like those kind of, hard-hitting movies very... and otherwise, I also like watching... thrillers and horrors.
Thrillers and horrors?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I had asked you to bring something to the studio, right? Like something that you wanted to share. What is that? I don't see anything.
The first thing somehow that came to my mind when you said, something that moved me, was actually a short story. This is what we had in our ICSE syllabus in our 10th standard. A story by Ruskin Bond. It's called The Tunnel.
Okay.
And the story, I don't know, somehow it has a very special place in my heart. It's about a boy, Suraj, who is absolutely fascinated by trains. And he's in some village in Dehradun. He comes nearby to this forest where there is a tunnel. And he comes there to watch the train go in and out of the tunnel. That's all. He wants to do only that. He'll ride his cycle, come there, and he'll see the train go in and out. I think he describes it as an emerald serpent or something, with fuming in and out of the tunnel. And then he'll experience the quiet of the forest right after the train has gone, and then he'll go. And one day he sees this hut right next to the tunnel, and that's of the tunnel watchman. Sundar Singh, I think his name. So Sundar Singh and a very beautiful friendship blossoms between them, and they frequently meet and things like that. And he asks him about what he does, and Sundar Singh says that his duty is to check the inside of the tunnel just before the morning train and just before the night train, because there are leopards in proper forest. There are leopards and all that in that area, so you should just ensure that the track is clear. That's his duty. And he was talking about a particular leopard that was in that area. Apopo, once in a while, it'll go inside the leopard would go inside the tunnel and, leave. So he has to check the tunnel for sure before any either trains arrive. And one day they would hear the leopard sounds. They both will be sitting, and it's in the evening. They'll hear the leopard sounds, and he'll go inside with the lantern, and the leopard would be there.
Wow.
And the train is about to arrive, the night train. So they both shout, and the voice echoes, and the leopard gets scared and goes away. And later, 1 week later, Suraj is in that train with his father on his way to Delhi, and he sees the lantern outside the hut, which means that it has been surveyed and the tunnel is clear. The train can go. So that light, and he smiles that this one man is doing it's such a. That's his duty, but it has such meaning, and we may not even know that this is happening, right? So gratitude for known and the unknown. There are so many people who are not, we don't know them personally, who are
absolutely
impacting our lives like this.
We go through our lives without realizing
all this, right? So, I think that's one story that's very close to my heart, the tunnel.
It stayed with you for how many years now?
Yeah, so this was 2005.
Wow.
Yeah. 2005 this was.
And it stayed with you all along.
Yeah, all along. 2004 and 5.
Have you told this story to other people?
No, I actually haven't. I think I've spoken about it to my friends about how much it means to me, yes. But yeah, this is the first time I'm actually telling the whole story. And
wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the things that we read in our formative years, it changes our worldviews. You don't realize it.
Yeah.
Especially the literature part, these kind of short stories and fiction that come in the part of the syllabus, and it just stays. You just don't forget it. You would have read 1 million books in your 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
I think now in the 30s, I feel like after reading the book, I'm like, what is that book about? Or it's just an effort to even get through the book.
Correct.
But these things you won't forget,
That's very
right?
true. Very true. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And on that note, I think it was a fun conversation. Lots of laughter.
Yes.
Thanks to you for coming out with all of those things.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. I really had a fabulous time doing this.
Same here. It was a riot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.